I messaged my number neighbor, and I probably shouldn't have. Everyone knows about that stupid trend on Twitter, texting your number neighbor, the phone number one away from yours. Many of my real-life friends and online friends were doing the challenge, some getting funny results, and some making new friends, and some just not getting answered at all. So I thought, well, what's the harm in trying? I sat on my couch and punched in the number that was one higher than mine, and sent a message. Hey number neighbor, what's up? Then I sat back and waited for a reply. It was hours before I received anything back, and I wasn't too disappointed. I wasn't expecting anything anyway. Then, at exactly midnight, my phone went off. Hey number neighbor, I can see you. I sat up in my bed and read it again. I can see you. What? My phone went off again. Why are you ignoring me, number neighbor? I didn't reply. Do you not want to talk now? I can see you're scared. I am outside your window. My eyes widened as I read that last message. It couldn't be true, right? It was probably just to scare me. Either way, I was checking my window. I had my phone in my hand with 911 on speed dial just in case something happened. I turned on my flashlight and cast it around the darkness outside the window, finding nothing, as I suspected. It was just a joke. My phone went off again. Wrong window. My heart nearly jumped out of my chest as I went to check the other windows. Nothing. I decided to block the number to spare myself a lot of much unneeded anxiety, as I could see that my number neighbor most likely wasn't going to be a friend. I fell asleep for a while after that, only to be awoken by thunder. It was raining. I looked out my window and listened to the soft pitter-patter of the rain as I tried to fall back asleep. Then I saw something. It was in a split second when lightning flashed. A figure in my window. A humanoid figure with long arms and legs and smooth white skin. They had holes for eyes and were smiling. Right next to them was a message written in the window fog. I guess you didn't want to play, huh? Then it was gone. I didn't sleep the rest of the night. I moved to the living room and watched TV to distract myself from what I had just seen. It had to be a misconception. Only it wasn't. For the rest of the night, I sat in the living room, paranoid out of my mind, flinching at every sound. I dozed off briefly, only to be awoken again by the scratching at my door. I did the smart thing and I didn't check it out. It was probably just a tree. I checked back in my room the next morning and the message was still there. I guess you didn't want to play, huh? I can still hear sounds in my house at night, like someone is crawling around. I don't know if I should call the police or not. I don't know if they'll believe me. I was kidnapped as a child by another child. I made this account just recently after finding this place, specifically to tell this story. Sorry if it doesn't belong here. I'll accept my fate if it's removed by the mods. I've only ever told one person this story, my best friend, but I don't think he completely believes me. Basically, I was raised by just my mom. She had me when she was 18, and she was always working all day, so she left me with the neighbors a lot. Our neighborhood was really kid-friendly, seemed safe enough, so the neighbors would a lot of times just let the kids play in the playground across the street. Not a busy street, not even any painted lines, just a thin neighborhood street. I should mention I was selectively mute as a child. It'll be relevant later. In all honesty, I don't remember much of this story. Most of what I know comes from what I apparently told my mom when they found me. So I'm sorry if it sounds jumbled or confusing or the timing seems weird. I'm not an author, but I'll do my best to make it an interesting read. I was by myself. Not unusual for me, so nobody was very worried, but another kid around my age came up to me and asked if I wanted to play. I didn't say anything, and he started playing with his own toys next to me. He kept urging me to join him, waving toys towards me, expecting me to grab one and start playing, and I eventually did, but I still wasn't talking. The kid started talking about himself and the things he liked to do. He told me his name, but I don't remember what it was. It was probably fake anyway. After a while, he said he was hungry, and asked if I wanted to get any snacks at his house. I was stupid and hungry, so I followed him down the street to his house. I'd seen his house before, and you had to drive past it to get out of the neighborhood, but I didn't remember seeing him before. Like I said, the neighborhood was really kid-friendly, so there were always people out on their lawns doing things together. I found out later that the reason I never saw anyone in this house was because it was a model home. He took me to his kitchen, and we had some snacks, then he decided to show me the rest of his house. This was one of those houses with the huge attics, the kind you could actually fit a bedroom into, and he told me it was his secret clubhouse. I started getting really sleepy after that. Thinking back, I think he might have put something in the snacks I ate. I remember there were a lot of cardboard boxes in the attic that he made a fort out of. We played in it until I fell asleep. I thought it was just a nap, but apparently I was asleep long enough for my mom to call the police that I was missing. The kid was still there. He told me he was protecting me or something weird like that, and he was asking why I didn't talk. I wanted to go home now because it was dark outside, but he said I had to stay with him because there were bad people outside looking for me, probably the cops. He convinced me I had to wait there with him until they went away. At one point, the police actually did come inside the house and look around, but the kid told me to stay very still and quiet so they wouldn't find us. People who have attics know they can get really hot and stuffy after a while of being up there. I was convinced we were going to die, and the bad people would find us. I don't know how long we stayed in the attic. I remember it being dark at least twice, but my perception of time back then was less than trustworthy. We had snacks, so I wasn't hungry, but it was really hot in there and it made me feel tired a lot. He told me a lot of things that made me feel really lonely. Some of them I forgot, but I'll never forget when he told me about killing things. As a kid, you're not really told about death a lot, so I was a clean slate for him to draw all over. He told me how the birds were really bad and that we had to kill them, and specifically how we had to kill them. He talked about pulling their legs off slowly and then twisting the head around until it popped off. Little me was fascinated. I didn't understand what was so fucked up about it. He told me he would throw rocks at the birds in the trees until they fell on the ground, then he'd grab them and pull them apart. He showed me his bird pieces. He kept them in one of the boxes, and he let me touch them and everything. I remember being excited about pulling apart the birds, and he promised me we'd do it again once the bad people left, so I kept waiting with him. I can't remember if it was the next morning or if it was the same day and we just took a nap, but he told me the people were gone and we could go get birds. It must have been cloudy or something because I didn't see anyone playing on the playground down the street. Thinking about it now, I think word got out that I was missing, so the parents kept their kid inside. He showed me how to hit the birds, and he talked me through the process of pulling them apart. He didn't tell me about all the noises they made when you did it, but I kinda liked it. I don't know why, but as a kid I didn't realize that other living things have blood too. It was fascinating to me. We were going from tree to tree in the neighborhood and pulling apart the birds together for a while. He told me to keep the pieces in my pocket. I had those overalls with the big pockets in front, until we could put them in our box. Somebody must have seen me walking down the street, because we heard the police coming. I didn't think anything of it, but the kid must have known because he told me to wait at the park while he got the box and took off running. According to my mom, they found me in the playground tunnel, hands covered in feathers and blood, pockets stuffed with bird feet and heads. Since these events, I've been to a lot of different places for help, and I've gotten much better since then. Although I do sort of have a small fear of birds now. It's not so much that I think they'll hurt me, it's more that I'm scared of the nasty, guilty feeling of pleasure I get thinking about hurting them. I don't tell people about it because I'm actually a pretty small and non-threatening guy, and if someone decided they were scared of me, I don't think I could defend myself. I'm an adult now, in my mid-20s. My mom passed away 4 years ago, and I've been living with my best friend. He's told me on multiple occasions not to tell this story to anyone. I hope he never finds this. Just to clarify, my mom was never neglectful. She was actually really amazing and always made me feel loved and cared for. She was just very busy most of the time, but she made sure to make time for me when she could. Being a single mom isn't easy, and I can't even imagine what she must have felt after the events I've described. Revulsion. I've always hated my mouth. It probably seems ridiculous to you, but the idea of this rigid, wet hole in my face with fangs and a meat tentacle is just the worst. It's just the worst. So it's a real shame that I, like most people, have one. Oh God, I can feel it salivating now. Can you feel it too? The warm wetness beneath your tongue, the patchy scar tissue on the inside of your cheeks. The doctors call it a phobia, but I don't agree. I'm not scared of my mouth, I'm disgusted, repulsed. I'm sick of living like this, sick of waking up each morning, brushing the disgusting things in my mouth, trying not to gag and failing miserably. I wouldn't dare to neglect my dental health completely, not after last time. Then sitting in silent agony, starving, but unable to eat for hours right in front of food. Of course, I always cave in eventually, crying pathetically with shaking hands as I struggled to do the simplest of tasks. Liquids are mercifully easier, which is most likely the only reason I haven't yet been hospitalized. Still though, the constant therapy appointments. Lying, obviously, it'll do me no good to get put in an institute, and worried phone calls have become unbearable at this point. Something needs to be done, and so I shall do something. I've been planning this for weeks, collecting tools, collecting pills, collecting courage. Tomorrow morning, I will wake up and take 2 of the strongest painkillers I can get my hands on. I will walk into my bathroom. I will lock the door. No backing out. Not this time. I will get the pliers and the knife from the drawers beneath my sink. I will pick up the pliers, and I will... Well, I'm sure you get the picture. The teeth will go first, then the tongue. Wish me luck. The Laundromat. Wow, I'm surprised I still even have cell service in here. So let's make it quick before my battery dies. God, I don't even know what day it is anymore. All I know is that every Saturday, I take my laundry to the laundromat. Now, usually I go to the one on 6th Street, but that one is currently closed for construction, meaning I had to go a few blocks over and use the one on 10th Street. Immediately upon stepping into the laundromat on 10th Street, I was greeted with a feeling of dread. Something about the place just seemed off. Also, no one else was in there, which only added to the eerie atmosphere. I quickly found out why. I waited for about an hour while the machines washed and dried my clothes, and in my boredom, I decided to wander around. It was a small, very worn place. The lights flickered, the insides of their panels caked with dead moths and flies. The wallpaper was peeling, revealing the drywall beneath, and all of the coin-operated machines looked to be from the 80s. I tried to read some of the flyers on the bulletin board near the door, but for some reason I couldn't. It was almost as if I'd forgotten how to read. Only I didn't, because 30 seconds later I read and answered a text from my girlfriend. Finally, the timer on the dryer beeped, and I dumped my load of laundry into a basket and started towards the door to carry it to my car. Only I never left. Just as I was about to walk through the door, the entire wall leaped 5 feet away from me. I blinked and did a double take. Maybe I was seeing it wrong. I started making my way towards the door again, only to have the same thing happen. I could see my car parked out front, I could see the road and the city, I just couldn't find my way out for some reason. I tried the same thing again, and again, and again, each time only to have the door jump away from me as it did the first. I placed the basket down in frustration and took a running start this time. I hurled myself at the door, hoping maybe I'd make the 5-foot gap. Only this time it moved 10 feet to compensate for the extra force I threw myself with. I tumbled onto the floor with the door still 5 feet away. I sat up and rubbed my shoulder before letting out a sigh of frustration. The stupid place was doing this just to screw with me. I decided to pick up the basket and I walked to the back of the building to sit on a bench. Maybe if I waited a little while, the door would decide to cooperate. It didn't. An hour later, I tried again with the same result. I called my girlfriend. Hello? She picked up. Hey, babe, do you know where the laundromat is on 10th Street? Silence. There is no laundromat on 10th Street. You're kidding. No, I'm not. I'm serious. Nothing is coming up. Okay, I'll see you later. I love you. I hung up the phone and tried to make sense of what she had said. There is no laundromat on 10th Street. Then where was I? I picked up my basket and walked further into the back of the building, thinking maybe I could find a back exit or an emergency exit, considering the front door wouldn't budge. Only I never reached the back of the building. It just kept going. The walls, lined with washers and dryers, went on for what seemed like miles. I walked for an hour and didn't reach the back. Maybe I could find another way out. I tried pulling out the ceiling tiles and crawling through the ceiling, hoping maybe to end up next door. I still ended up in the goddamn laundromat. I'm still in here, and I don't know how much longer I'm going to last. I've figured out that I can drink water from the machines, but I have no food, and I have to keep going, as I feel I'm not alone in here. All I'm asking is for a way out of here. I don't know what's going on.